just would like to meditate on how I can feel close to the personality, how I can deepen my relationship with Srila Gurudev, even though physically he may not be so visible.
Right, yeah, well, you know, very often when, let's say, a person wants to approach that question or that type of question, it's often a thought about, well, what mental adjustment can I make to get closer? But it's really not like that at all. Just like in this world, all relationships are based on sense gratification, really. You know, I scratch your back, you scratch my back. Like that's a relationship. But spiritual relations are not like that. Spiritual relations are based on service, right? So let's just take Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami didn't have a lot of association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, Mahaprabhu came and visited his village for a few days, Ramkeli. Before that, they were corresponding, writing letters back and forth. Later, when Mahaprabhu was coming back from Vrindavan on his way to Puri, he met with Rupa Goswami in Prayag for about 10 days. And then he went to Puri. Rupa Goswami was in Vrindavan. After some time, he also came to Puri and stayed with Mahaprabhu for 10 months. So let's say a few days in Ramkeli, 10 days in Prayag, and about 10 months in Puri. And then Mahaprabhu sent him to Vrindavan, and physically they never met again in their life. So just see Rupa Goswami, compared to Raghunath Das Goswami and others, he had quite minimal association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But we still hold him to be the most intimate associate who really represented Mahaprabhu's mission and fulfilled his innermost heart's desire. So it's not so much about, you know, how much association a person has had. The quality of the association is important, of course, but the main thing is understanding the manobhishta. That means understanding the innermost heart's desire of the Vaishnava. That's not so easy. You know, the things that we've been discussing while we're here, that's actually where we're going, you know, because this is the inner heart of a Gurudev. This subject, like we discussed yesterday about Vyavadashra Vritti and so on, you know, this is of Ujjwala Nilamani. When Gurudev disappeared from the mat, you know, there was a pastime when Gurudev, he just ran away, no one knew where he was. So he was at Govardhan by Manasiganga. At that time, he was in touch with Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami. He was not sannyas then, he was brahmachari. And he asked, please, can you get me a copy of Ujjwala Nilamani with the commentaries of Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Thakur? And it was very rare in those days. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he was going everywhere. He went to all the bookshops in Delhi. He went to all the bookshops in Calcutta. And he got it. And then he sent it to Gurudev there at Maniskanga. And that's what Gurudev was. When Gurudev was alone and in some time doing his deep bhajan, and that's when Gurudev said he had the pastime of attaining his siddhi, his perfection. That's what he was absorbed in. So that's where Gurudev wants to take us, in that direction of really connecting and understanding what Mahaprabhu revealed in the heart of Rupa Goswami. So, how do we get close to Gurudev? Just as Rupa Goswami was very close to Mahaprabhu by fulfilling his innermost heart's desire, we get close to Gurudev by hearing and trying to understand what is his innermost heart's desire. And even that's not enough, because it can be kind of theoretical. But then living our life in such a way that we become part of the flow of his mission to establish that his manobhishta in the world. You see? And so by service, then revelation comes. Mercy, you know, we said this the other day in the class. Mercy and the order of Guru, they're not two different things. When we become aligned with the desire of Guru and the mission of the Guru in the world, that is the mercy. And so when our life is attuned to the Gurudev's innermost heart's desire in serving that, then automatically there's an internal revelation of his personality, of his joy, of his relation with his own Guru, and all those nectarian things, they manifest. So this is the thing, become attuned to the manobhishta, and we can only do that by associating with someone who's attuned and hearing from them. So we become attuned, and then we have to live in such a way that we're pushing on that mission to share that manobhishta with the world. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Bhutale means on the surface of the earth. Rupa Goswami was making Mahaprabhu's innermost heart's desire take root. You see? So being part of a Vaishnava community that's at once, let us say, catering for new people who don't know anything, right? But not just catering for the new people that don't know anything. What can happen is, let's say there's a quite advanced devotee and he's speaking to very new people and they learn from him that kind of new katha. Then maybe he leaves. They think that's everything. And then they're doing the same thing for the next generation. And before you know it, the whole sampradaya is now this very superficial and basic idea. So we cannot, because our ideals are so high, neglect the basic things and the very introductory things. But even when we're serving and approaching people and speaking about very introductory things, we have some idea in our mind where we're taking them. Where is this going? The next step, the next step, the next step, like this. So, to be part of a community that has a unified vision, we know what our goal is, but we know that we have to meet people on the level they're on and just gradually move them step by step towards that goal. Gurudev will be very pleased by this. And of course, if you pray to him every day, Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, Shri Guru Charana Padma, these kirtans, and your life is engaged in his mission, then definitely the more Gurudev is pleased with us, the more he's pleased to reveal himself. No? Gurudev used to say, spiritual life just has two parts. Surrender, that's indicated in the Gayatri mantras, in the Diksha mantras by Namaha or Swaha, surrender. And the other part is Prachodayat, please reveal yourself. There's no other way to know anything which is beyond the senses. It's beyond investigation. All we can do is surrender and pray, please reveal yourself. If you are pleased with me, please reveal yourself. So this is the thing. Attune yourself to Gurudev's heart's desire. See the broadness of his mission from the very beginning for new people all the way up to the revelations of Rupa Goswami in his poetry. Like that. And be on that path yourself. Help others along. And by that, Gurudev will definitely... Oh, you have the Diksha mantras from Gurudev? You didn't receive Diksha mantras from Gurudev? Okay, you received Harinam?
Yes.
Yeah, you have Harinam, okay. So, who did you receive the Diksha mantra from? You don't have yet, okay. So that's something that you should consider very carefully. When we discussed Pancha Sanskar, right? So Diksha has 5 sanskars. First one, tapa, you have to feel regretful. And that's what you were telling me now. Right? You say, I feel great regret. That's the first samskar of Diksha. So the Diksha process is going on. By Gurudev's mercy, you're feeling the regret now, and that's the first sanskar. It's real. Just showing up, because someone pushed you in a room, or this sadhu's giving initiation and they're rounding people up like sheep and pushing them in the room to get initiated. This is not Diksha. What you're feeling now is the first sanskar of Diksha. You have tilak. Tilak means turning your attention beyond this world, to Adokshad's realm, what's beyond the senses. And then the next sanskar is receiving Harinam, and you've received it. So 3 sanskars of Diksha, Gurudev already arranged in your life. So there's only 2 left. Receiving of the Diksha mantra and engaging in some archant to the deities. Like this. So, and remember, the first 3 of the sanskars, they are while our consciousness is still pretty much connected with this world. We're still on the materialistic platform. But when we go to the next one, receiving the mantra and then engaging in archan, that means that the door to Madhyam Adhikar is open. And to do those properly, we have to enter into Madhyam Adhikar. So think about that, it's necessary. And if you receive Diksha mantra from Gurudev, or you receive Diksha mantra from a person who's connected with Gurudev, then those mantras will really, really deepen your relationship with Gurudev as well. There was a time, kind of before Gurudev's influence, let's say many persons in other institutions that shall not be named, they thought that like it's Brahmin initiation, right? It's Varnashram Dharma, it's a Brahmin initiation. It's not really that important, but if you need a pujari or something, just get it done and then he can do the service to the deities. And I remember that there was one guru, and he was quite old. He was about to pass away, and someone came to him and he wanted to take the Diksha mantras. And he was there, and some of the other gurus were there, and a group of devotees. And this devotee said, "Will you give second initiation?" And he says, "Yes." And then he couldn't actually remember the mantras because he wasn't chanting them himself. So then he looked at the other gurus in the room and says, "Oh, you tell him what the mantra is." And the other guru said, "Actually, I don't remember them." And then they all agreed, "Well, it's not that important, it's just for deity service. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam." So this was the mood. And now Gurudev had a big influence and let's say resurrected the sense of importance of the Diksha mantras. But it's right there in Manashiksha, the first verse of Manashiksha. Guru goste gostali susujane brusurkane somantri sri namni brajanava yuva dvandvash. Oh my mind, please develop unprecedented attachment for your guru, for the holy dham, for the Brij Basis, for the Vaishnavas of other sampradayas. Where did that go? You have to love the Vaishnavas of other sampradayas. Now it's like pulling teeth to get someone to love the Vaishnavas in their own sampradaya. Huh? But in a different institution, but their own sampradaya even. So love the Vaishnavas and other sampradayas, love the Brahmins of the Dham, who are not in any sampradaya at all, they're just the Brahmins of the Dham. And but then develop unprecedented attachment for the holy name and for your Diksha mantras as well. So it was really Gurudev who, let's say, reinvigorated our awareness and also outside, because even those who are against him, they were all elevated by trying to compete with him. Before Gurudev's influence became powerful, then Gaurakeshava, Prabhupada disciple who went to the Sri Sampradaya, his influence was there. He was teaching Archan, and everyone started wearing these colored silky things around the neck, and having the
Crown.
on the head. All these things. This is not in our Sampradaya. This is all imported from the Sri Sampradaya. So like the whole flow was going away from Vrindavan and towards Vaikuntha. But then because Gurudev started preaching and Shamrani was doing beautiful paintings, then to compete, then everyone had to start let's get more into Vrindavan, to compete with Gurudev. So even, what to speak of those who directly took help from Gurudev, even those who were against him, they were benefited by his presence, because in order to compete with him, they had to Vrindavanize again. And then they started painting pictures of gopis and Radha Krishna all over the walls of the temple, and kind of all the imitations of Shamarani's paintings. The artists started to do things like that. So, Gurudev is so auspicious. He helped everyone who was for him and he helped everyone who was against him. This is what a Vaishnava does. They're all auspicious. So it was Gurudev who really emphasized the importance of the Diksha mantra, and it's absolutely a fact. Because in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the description is there that the syllables, say, of the Khan Gayatri, they're like moons. So just as the moon doesn't just on one day it's the dark moon and then the next day it's the full moon, what happens? The moon is slowly getting bigger. So in our spiritual life, if a person will remember their Gayatri mantras on time, every day, with great honor, without fail, slowly the moon of their sambhanda gyan relationship, the moon of their relationship with their guru and with their whole parampara, with Gauranga and with Radha and Krishna and with the Sakhis and everything, it's like a moon, and it just gradually becomes full. So the Diksha mantras are very important. So you think about how to make the next step.
Devotees, Hare Krishna. The most recent feelings that have erupted in me coming here is Dadati Priti Grinati Guryamatu. Srila Rupa Goswami saying, instructing, and guiding us by his example to bond with those like-minded, like-hearted devotees and stay with them and bond with them and reveal one's mind in confidence. So that's a rare thing to feel that type of a strong bond. And I began to realize that it's inevitable. It's sometimes painful and scary, treading in those, in that confidential area, but yet the relief and artificial pressure that I put on myself, it goes away, and I become that much more of a fellow family member, more than just an associate, and that bond is it seems to be a taste now. I don't want to go back to that superficial relationship or that profile I used to feel I needed to maintain. It's a simple, like, blessed are the children, they'll inherit the earth, and things like that. The words of God are spoken by the simple children, things of that nature. So it is a very simple process. And in that way, because I have regrets, like Hari Prabhu, Srila Gurudev put me in an assigned position for 7 years in charge of a Hong Kong temple and things, and I felt very honored to do it, and knowing that I'm unworthy. And one time I came to that brand new temple in Govardhan. It's just an awesome temple, and Gurudev was sitting on the podium waiting for everybody to hook up the microphone, and no one was speaking to him or interacting with him. I got up and I went to him and I said, "Oh, Gurudev, you put me in this position of serving the Hong Kong devotee and the China devotee. Please keep me, make me a responsible person. Just give me that level of maturity." And he said, "Oh, I wanted to give you pure bhakti." And I realized I don't know what I want for myself. I don't know what's, I'm immature, and he also has said other things to me. If you came to me, I came to Gurudev once, he put me on a 3-year regulation. You do this for 3 years and you will feel the outcome. And so 3 years later, I came back and I said, "Gurudev, I've achieved, I had a severe debt, $100,000 to the government. And I said, I've diminished it by 75%, but I can't do this. I said, 3 years, I can't do it. I'm useless without you." And he said, "If you had this mood 3 years ago, you wouldn't have had to go through what you just went through." So I realized I need a Sangha. Like one twig, easy broken. Mm-hmm. So that's my realization. Thank you.
Very well. So, it's so beautiful. We all feel the presence of Gurudev, because only Gurudev speaks in such an astonishing and enlightening and unexpected way, because he is situated in the eternal reality. But what you said also speaks to what we were discussing with Guru Hari Prabhu, that when we're doing the basic things of meeting people and bringing them, we have to always keep in mind where we're taking them. You see? That's why you were asking, well, give me the maturity to deal with this responsibility of the preaching center. That was what you're doing right now, to introduce the people to Bhakti. But Gurudev wanted you to do it, but be focused on the ultimate goal. That's the thing. Otherwise, we think that what we're doing is the be-all and end-all. Go out and tell people that they should chant Hare Krishna and distribute books. And then they have to tell other people to chant Hare Krishna and distribute books. And they have to tell and everyone's telling everyone to chant Hare Krishna and distribute books. But no one's really chanting Hare Krishna. And maybe not distributing books too, because they're all telling everyone else to do it like this. And that becomes the message which is passed on. So we have to chant Hare Krishna in a very beautiful way. We discussed Mahabar Prabhu, you were asking about how can I improve my chanting. Yesterday I gave some tips, but I was thinking, I spoke on detail on the really basic things earlier, but I remembered afterwards, you came to the festival afterwards. On the first, 2 days? For the first 2 days, I spoke on this book, First Aid. I don't know if you've read this. Have you read this?
I've read.
Yeah. Yeah, so I spoke on this for a couple of days. So I would recommend, if you hear those lectures and then add to it what I told you yesterday, because those 2 lectures are more foundational. It's kind of introductory in one sense, but it's deep, and a person may chant for many years and be held back by not making these adjustments which are discussed in this book. So yes, so basically what I'm saying and what Gurudeva is saying, they're illustrated in this beautiful pastime. Oh, I wanted to give you pure bhakti, is in the midst of all the things that we're doing here right now, especially in relation to outreach to the public, we have to keep our mind on the goal. Because what is sadhana? Kritisadhya bhavetsadhya bhavasa sadhinabheda. The engagement of all the senses in the activities of bhakti, in the angas of bhakti, for the specific purpose of attaining a sadhya. You see? If you're engaged in activities of bhakti, but you don't have a specific purpose, it's your express purpose that you'll attain a particular sadhya, then that's not called sadhana. And what is that purpose? Nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatamriti sadhyata. That a particular mood of an eternal associate in the spiritual world should manifest in your heart. So let's say a person, I felt a little bit uncomfortable here on the first day, because I sang Mangalartik, and you know what Mangalartik is. Mayura Sukadi Sari. The bird, Brinda Devi tells the birds to sing. Radha Krishna just waking up in the Kunj, the Mangalartik sung. It's the Nishanta Leela. And you might notice I sing Mangala Sri Guru Gaura. This is actually not rag. It's actually it's a folk melody. But when we get to Mayura Sukadi, now we turn into rag, Bhairavi rag. Why? This Bhairavi classical rag. This is how gopis sing in ragas to see Krishna. And so when we're singing the Mangalartik, the first prayers are the prayers of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj in his sadhak form. And then that verse, when it goes, that's when Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj goes into his internal consciousness in his siddha form. So to indicate that shift from the sadhak form into the siddha form, to indicate the shift from the external awareness to the internal awareness, we change the raga at that verse. You see? And so then you're just completely absorbed in the Vrindavan Leela, how Radha Krishna are waking up in the Kunj. And then Kushumita Sarobhare Kamala Hilo means they come out from the Kunj, where there's a lake and there's some lotus flowers and the breezes are blowing and they're trembling. They're not trembling because the breezes are blowing. They're trembling because Radhika is trembling and her Yadavashray Briti is spreading out and making, you see. So it's actually describing the ecstasies of Radhika by describing the trembling of the lotus flowers. Poetry is like this. The poet never says what he wants to say. He says something else in such a way that the rasiks, when they hear it, they understand his inner meaning. Like this. So then, I sang the Mangalartik, and then when we finished, it was, Prabhu, can we sing Lord Nrsimhadev prayers? Right? And then I joked. And the verse of Raghunath Dasa Swami came to me. Api chaktva Lakshmi Patimito Vyomanayanim. Oh dear mind, please give up all attachment to Lakshmi Pati Lord Narayana Vaikunta. So it's okay, in some temples they do it. But actually in my Gurudev's temples, they didn't sing Lord Nrsimhadev prayers after Mangalartik. Because now we're going to go to Jaya Radhe Jaya, and we're with Janava Thakurani. And all the associates of Advaita and Nityananda and Srivas Thakur, their family members who are still in this world after they've passed away. And they're all in separation. and they're doing Brajmandal Parikrama under the guidance of Janva Thakurani. So if you want to just like insert the mood of Vaikuntha and Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsimhadev in the middle of that, then I was choking. And then I don't like to impose. If I go somewhere, I like to go along with what they do. But at the same time, it was grinding against my sensibilities. And so I was kind of bold and said, Jaya Radhe, Vrindaye Tulasi Devi, and moved on and hoped that no one would hate me too much.
It's because you felt home, so therefore that's what you were.
Okay. Like this. So, this is the thing, that we're doing everything, but it's only a sadhana if we're doing it to get our goal of life. You see? Let's say a devotee doesn't know about his goal of life, Nitya Siddha Bhav. So then he may wake up in the morning and then utter whatever, the Narayan Kavacharo from the Srimad Bhagavatam, then go to Mangalatik, and then during the arti of Radha Krishna, he's singing Samsara Davan Alalita Lok, singing a prayer to Guru while the arti to Radha Krishna is going on. Right? And then afterwards, then sing to Lord Nrsimhadev. Or maybe in some temples they have Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman also on the altar. And at the end of the kirtan, Jaya Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman. I know, because I joined in George Harrison's house, and after Prabhupada left, in order to get all the Hindus to come to the temple, they installed Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman next to Radha Krishna on the altar. So at the end of every kirtan, they're singing Jai Hanuman. So that it's all bhakti, right? It's hearing, chanting and remembering. But it's not sadhana. It's not sadhana. Because there's no idea what's the ultimate purpose of why we're doing it. And so when all of our hearing and chanting and remembering is pointed towards our goal, it's only sadhana then. Or maybe even sadhana bas. If there are still anarthas and there's still anyabhilas. But if it's not pointed towards a goal at all, there's no fixed idea of the goal. It's not even sadhana abhas. It's just you joined a club, joined a society, making some sukriti, okay, make some sukriti or something. But there's no real, let's say, step, progress on the path of Shuddha Bhakti. One is making some sukriti, and it may be after so many years or even lifetimes, you can meet a sadhu. And what is a sadhu? There's sadhana and sadhya. Sadhya is the goal, sadhana is what you do to get the goal. And the person who refines your life and adjusts your life in such a way that you can do sadhana and get the goal is called a sadhu. So sadhana and sadhya and sadhu, they are connected. And when we allow ourselves, we become submissive and allow our life to be adjusted by that sadhu, then it's called sadhu sangha. Yeah? If you associate with a sadhu, but you don't allow him to change your life, then you haven't associated with him, because you're the same person that met him. If you really associate, you should transform and conform your feelings with the feelings of the sadhu, so you become attuned to the desire of Radha and Krishna. Then it's really sadhu sangha. So have this in mind. In our Chaitanya Academy, we make so many outreach lectures just for the public. And there are so many discussions like comparative religion or Vedanta and science and these things. There's not a smell of the Nikunjas of Braj in that. If someone is in that bhav, the smell is coming out anyway, even if they don't speak about it. But the fragrance of Vrindavan is coming out, even if they don't speak about it, if the mind is there. But in the actual discussion, it's not there. But for the public, we have to extend ourselves that way. But if we think, oh, yes, this preaching is everything, but it's not really preaching. Brajabasigan Pracharakadan. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, the bridge basis are the real preachers. The bridge basis are the real preachers. Because actual preaching is changing someone's heart and bringing them towards Vrindavan. So we have to extend ourselves towards the public, connect with them and bring them, but we have to have our heart fixed on the other end of the spectrum. And when we come together with our brothers and sisters, then the program is more internal. But if you try to please everyone, let's say you make a program, it's for the beginners and the more committed devotees, then you end up, the beginners get confused because you said something about the higher things, and the more advanced people feel dissatisfied because you were saying so many basic things. Like, you can't please everyone. So, in your preaching, make 2 types of programs. Make your focused outreach programs, and everyone's on the same page. Okay, this is what we're doing. This is an outreach mission. And then you have your more internal programs where you try to go a little bit further than you've gone before. Maybe you have a recording of a class of Gurudeva or any advanced Vaishnava on a subject that you have some weakness in that area, and then you can hear it, or you study it and make notes, and then you speak on it yourself. That will help as well. When Gurudeva was speaking, I was listening and not looking down, just like by shorthand, writing, just looking at Gurudev and writing at the same time, writing down almost every word. Then after the class, I would go and see which parts, if there was anything I missed out, and filled it in before I forget. And if there are any verses that he quoted, then look them up. If I can't find them, go to a Vaishnava and find out, and then fill those in as well. And then you have the script. And then when it's chance, like let's say every week or every other week, you have the chance to speak a class, then just speak it from your notes, no harm. After some time, maybe you give that class a few times in a few different places. After some time, you don't need the notes anymore. It becomes yours. It becomes yours now. And you do that with another class. You build up your stock. So you have so many beautiful katars. And then afterwards,
Upagiyamanam.
Yes, upagiyamanam. And then what happens is, after some time, they all start to come alive and start interacting with each other. And they mate and make new classes that you never heard before. They have babies, and all these other classes come that you never heard, by the connections between that. So you have to start somewhere. You start with the basics, just like learning to play piano. You can't just play a symphony. You have to learn the scales. But once you've learned the scales, then later you don't even need the music. You don't even have to have any, symphony in mind. You can just spontaneously compose something. But you have to put the work in on the basics first. So make a plan, Don't have a life which is like guideless, that doesn't have a plan. Have a long-term plan, It takes time to improve and become perfect in any activity. So start today, okay? I'm going to study this thing. I'll learn this verse like this. And where will you be if you just do a little bit every day? Where will you be 15 years from now? Right? You learn a little bit every day, and you try to take it into your heart. So something you learn, 365 small things you learn from Gurudeva and from Vaishnavas and from Shastras in 1 year, then 15 years from now, it's thousands of things in your stock. But when you first take something into your heart, some saying, some verse of our Acharya, some Siddhanta, it's valuable. But the value will increase with time. Just like, I'm sure you all know Shikshastakam. But when you first learned it, and the way you feel about it now is completely different. Right? Because as you grow, as you mature, you see it in another light. So everything you do, it's the interest on it. It's just the value of it increases so much. There are no words to express. There's nothing better than, it's shocking if there's a friend that you knew for many years, and then suddenly you find out that actually he's a virtuoso on the violin, and you never knew. It's like amazing. So you may learn a verse now, and then 15 years later, you realize something, that this old friend of yours has this great secret that you never noticed before. Right? And so this is how we get ruchi. Taste in Harikatha. Sing what does it say? We all sing the song. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Korya Aikya. May I make the words coming from the lotus lips of Guru one with my heart. When I used to sit in front of Gurudeva and he was ready to speak, I would just have this mood that I'm worshipping every word that's coming from his lips. And I can't it's like, a flock of birds coming out, they could escape here and there. So I am desperate. I don't want one of those birds coming out from his mouth to escape. I want to catch them all. Huh? Become mad. So what I mean, so worship and then we'll. It's not that they're just like a mechanical learning process will bring us realization, but it's the honor that we have for Harikatha. You know, Srila Gurudeva used to quote the verse, Jnane prayasam udapasana manta eva, jivanti sanmukaratam bhavadiyavatam. Stane stita sutikatam tanovan manobi, ye prayasodita titopya sitaistilokya. Just raise your hand if you know this verse. Just okay. Jnane prayasam udapasana, you know, yeah. So this is something you should really know. It comes in Ramananda Samvad, the conversation with Ramananda Rai, which is very structured. It starts with Varnashram Dharma. And then after that, Krishna Karmapana, not just doing your duties for Vishnu, but actually doing everything and offering it to Krishna. Krishna and Vishnu are not the same, right? And then after that, actually giving up your duties, knowing that the duties there for certain people in a certain level, but bhajan is most important, and sarvadhamam pratyadya, and so on. So the verses of Ramananda Samvad, they come in a specific order of the evolution of your consciousness. And every time Mahaprabhu is rejecting them, this is external, this is external. And he's going up, he's still saying this. And the first time he says, Ehoai, this is okay, is this verse. Jnane prayasam udapasana manta eva. Lord Brahma is saying, those persons who give up the endeavor to get knowledge. So one meaning is, don't try to get gyan, that means for liberation, right? Another meaning is, don't try to understand all of Krishna's opulences, because the Krishna that actually we want to love is, we approach him not really concerned with his opulences. But a deeper meaning, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur explains in here, his explanation of this verse in here is so beautiful. He says, Jnane Prayas means give up the mentality of Arohapanta, the ascending, that you're climbing up and you're ascending by your own power. But rather, Jivanti Sanmukaritam, the words coming from the mouth of a sadhu, make that your life. And serve that Harikatha by body, mind and words. So what does that mean? The acharyas say, to serve the Harikatha by body, one of the meanings is that when you're listening to the Harikatha, don't slouch around like this, like you're on the beach, relaxing with a pina colada. No? Sit up straight, with hands folded and your mouth open. Huh? Like, why is the mouth open? Because you serve the Harikatha also with your mind, thinking, wow, I've never heard anything so beautiful in my life. Like this. The Acharya is described like this. And then serve with your voice as well. When the Harikatha is over, say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. It's like Sanskrit, bravo. Bravissimo. Well done, well done. This is pure and beautiful. Like this. And so if someone will serve Harikatha with their body, mind and words, and jivanti san mukaratam bhavadiyavatam, Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta. Namanta means bow down. And Gurudev, he said it here in Bhaja. He said you should have such honor for Harikatha, worship it so much that you bow down to the speaker, to the Shastra, to the personality in the Shastra who's speaking. Maybe it's Shukadev Goswami, perhaps it's Vidura or Uddhav or Narad Muni. You bow down to the listeners, because there's not going to be Harikatha without an audience. Bow down to everyone in the audience. Bow down to the place, New Braj. Bow down to those who are cooking, because you can't have a festival without the cooks. Bow everyone in connection with that Harikatha, whatever is, even tangentially connected with that Harikatha, you bow down to that. Why? Because even bowing down to the farthest away, tangentially connected object is ultimately the supreme respect for the Harikatha itself. And if you do this, you honor the Harikatha by your body, mind and words, then the result is that Krishna, who is unconquerable, becomes conquered by you. And that means you conquer. Now, tanuvan manobhya means body, mind and words. So this phrase is applicable here as well. that by your body, mind and words, you conquer Krishna's body, mind and words. Krishna's body becomes conquered by you. Krishna will want to come and massage your lotus feet. Krishna's words will be conquered by you. Krishna will speak very sweet, loving words. Krishna's mind will be conquered by you. He'll be dreaming about you. How? Just by giving honor to Harikatha coming from the lips of a pure Vaishnava. This is how powerful it is. So when I'm saying, oh, you should study this, you should make the notes, you should learn it, I'm not trying to recommend like a college. This like someone studying in a college. But these are expressions of our respect for the Katha. And then there is the internal revelation. Because the degree to which our respect goes up, to the same degree the mercy comes down. So make a plan in your life. Okay, what is just the main important verses of Bhagavad Gita? Let me tell you our pedagogical structure in Chaitanya Academy. So first of all, everyone has to chant nicely. So this is how we teach chanting, just to the new people. It's very helpful to just start on the right foot. Because if you've been chanting for many years, you get bad habits. So new people who start off on the right foot, okay, I can't take the mala and now I have to go into Shakshitra. They know. I have to do, this is a serious thing. We're meditating now. We're not just like pulling rope and looking around and wondering what time prasadam is. But, so our pedagogical structure is teach people how to chant nicely and not get bad habits right from the beginning. And then when it comes to studying the Shastra, start with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Dasamula Shiksha. You see? It's one verse. Dasamula Shiksha is one verse, but it's the 10 teachings, the whole teaching of Mahaprabhu in 10 components. Right? So there's one component on Praman Tattva, and then 9 components on Prameya Tattva. Of the 9 components of Prameya Tattva, what is proven by the Praman, there are 7 aspects of sambhanda gyan, 1 on abhideya and 1 on Prayojan. So this verse gives a person an overview of everything that we're doing. A complete overview of our entire philosophy. It's just there in one pill, one verse. So now they get the overview. Then the next thing that we teach in Chaitanya Academy is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written an article and Gurudeva published it in his Harmonist magazine, perhaps even the first or the second one. Rays of the Harmonist. See how beautiful. Gurudev's Bhav is so ecstatic. The journal of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was called The Harmonist. And Gurudev wants to follow him. But he feels that I am insignificant compared to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So my magazine will just be like, if the Harmonist is like the sun, then my magazine is like one photon coming from the sun. This is Rays of the Harmonist. Gurudev gave the name. What a Bhav. Super excellent Bhav. No? We don't have to speculate. We have to just attune ourselves with our Guru Parampara. Because everything they do is full of love and wisdom. So I remember when I worked on the editing of the first magazines, the first few magazines of Rays of the Harmonist. I was there when Gurudev said, it should be called the Rays of the Harmonist. I was all thinking, oh, amazing. So there's an article by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he takes Dasamul Shiksha, which let's say, it's not accepted by everyone. Not everyone accepts Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Not everyone accepts Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But everyone they believe in the antiquity, the ancient authority of Bhagavad Gita. All Indian people do. And those who are just interested in Vedic culture, they know Bhagavad Gita's authority. So what did Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur do? He picked 1 or 2 verses from Bhagavad Gita that proves each of the Dasmul Shikshas. Right? So then the next level of learning is, you just learn these like 12 or 14 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, but now on the basis of Bhagavad Gita, you can prove the whole philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? So you're a new person, you just learned your first 12 verses, but now you have the confidence. You can go out and you can speak authority on our line and everything proven by Bhagavad Gita. Like this. So this is our pedagogical method of how we introduce people and train them step by step so they get some confidence in understanding the subject and also sharing it with others. Because you progress so much when you go out to preach. If you're just sitting at home thinking, oh, I have to prepare myself more and more and more, you'll never do it. Right? So get something under your belt that is solid and gives you some confidence, and go out and Yari Deka Tahi Kara Krishna Upadesh. Mahaprabhu said, everywhere you go, everyone you meet, you tell them the message of Krishna. Like this. And then the next aspect of our pedagogical method is this. Remember that Gurudev, he used to sometimes give a class on Rup Shiksha, teachings, Mahaprabhu's conversation with Rupa Goswami. Sometimes he would speak on Sanatan Shiksha. Sometimes he would speak on Ramananda Samvad, right? So these conversations, they're actually the foundation of everything. The verses that come in these conversations, they're from the Vishnu Purana, they're from the Bhagavatam, they're from the Upanishads, there are even verses from Krishna Karnamrita or Govinda Lilamrita even sometimes. But they're in a specific order. They're very, very, if Mahaprabhu is having a conversation, what kind of conversation is that? If Mahaprabhu is teaching someone, who's the best teacher? I'm speaking about our pedagogical technique in Chaitanya Academy. But I'm not trying to say I have the best teaching methods. I'm saying that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has the best teaching methods. He gave Dasmula Shiksha. Krishna gave Gita. Combine the two. There it is. When Mahaprabhu is teaching his philosophy, he's the best teacher of that philosophy. And Mahaprabhu has selected a verse from here, a verse from there, a verse from there. So even though, let's say, Rup Shiksha is only one chapter, but if you take out the bits of conversation in between, it's just one verse, another verse. It's not so many verses. But if you just learn the important verses, say, of Rup Shiksha, now they're like the hangers, and the whole chapter and the conversations that link the verses together, it's all in your mind, because they're like mimetic points, that each verse reminds you of the conversation and link to the next verse, like this. So Gurudev wanted us, Gurudev he said on several occasions, you should know Rup Shiksha. Because I traveled all the way around the world with Gurudev, 24 times. I went all the way around the world with Gurudev. And sometimes we'd arrive at a place and Gurudev would say, Prem, what should I speak on? He would ask me what to speak on. Not that I can give great advice or anything, but that's how Gurudev made relationship. In like I'm leaning on this cushion behind me, but in Navadvip on the stage, there was no back. So Gurudev would have a bolster behind him, and then I'd sit behind him with the bolster against my knees. So I'd be holding Gurudev up from behind because there was no back on his seat. And Gurudev would be speaking, and he had the pastime when he was old that he would forget verses sometimes. And as he was speaking, he would just lean back a little bit and tell the verse in his ear. So what's going on? I'm remembering the verse and Gurudev's forgetting? No. Gurudev remember everything. But he's having the human-like pastime as if he's forgetting. And then by his Shakti, he's making me remember. I'm forgetting, he's remembering. But this is Braj, everything's backwards. And it's all deception. It's just complete deception. Look, the old man, he forgot everything, and this young kid, he knows everything. No, it's not. Gurudev remembers everything. I'm forgetting everything. This is the Braj mood. All like a type of deception. So when we would go places, often Gurudev would say, okay, in this place, let's discuss Rup Shiksha. And so we're sitting in the audience, and what would Gurudev do all the time for his senior preachers who were close to him? Okay, now we're starting Rup Shiksha. Prem Prayojan, stand up. Naveen Krishna, stand up. Shubhananda, stand up. All our Brahmacharya names. Subal Saka, Bon Maharaj. Rasananda, Shidamar, stand up. So we knew wherever we went with Gurudev, if he picked a subject, we better know each verse in Rup Shiksha one by one and the order they're coming in. We better know Sanatan Shiksha, each verse one by one in the order. Because after Gurudev spoke on one verse, then he'll say, you stand up, speak on the next verse. And if you don't know it, then, Gurudev would play us off against each other, making prema pratiyogita, love competition, between his preachers. So For us, a festival wasn't like, oh, it's a festival, whoopee whoo. Let's go, let's sit down, be entertained, and then fill out ourselves to prasadam up to here. Cool. When we're going to festival with Gurudev, we were sweating. You know, what is he going to speak on? We better know it all. Otherwise, it will be really embarrassing. And you sit down for class, and you know, it's a total. Being with Gurudev as his close preachers, it was a completely different experience for persons who are coming to listen. You see. So, this experience that I have, I want that you should have that experience. I didn't do it so much here, but he knows. He's one of my brahmacharis. If we're in Europe or in India, then at any moment I may say to a brahmachari, stand up and tell this. Sometimes Gurudev would be kind and he would give some advance warning. Sometimes if he wants Shamarani to speak, he may be kind and before or even the day before tell her, tomorrow I want you to speak on this. Huh? But with me and Ban Maharaj and others, it was always no warning. Out of the blue. So what I'm trying to express here is, okay, you start from the beginning. People should learn how to chant properly. Not in a whimsical way, in a slack way, in a properly adjusted way in relation to the holy name. That's the first thing. Then Dasamul Shiksha. The whole teaching of Mahaprabhu in one verse. Then the verses of Gita, that is the Praman from Gita of each of Mahaprabhu's points. Then if you send an email to me or Tarkanath to anyone, they can send you a file. Because of those verses that prove from Bhagavad Gita, the Dasamul Shiksha, I also added one which is very nice. Because the one on the first one, Praman Tattva, what is the evidence? So the evidence is Shastra. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given the verse of Gita, Tasman Shastra Pramanam Te Karya Karna Vijanata. One should know what is to be done and what is not to be done by the evidence, and the evidence is Shastra. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave that verse. But I have added one more verse, which is very important, and that's the end of the Gita. Kachit etat shutam pata twaika grena chetasa. Kachit agyana sammoha pranastaste dhananjaya. Where Krishna said, hey Arjun, did you listen with one ekagrata chitta, with one pointed attention, and has your illusion been dispelled? Because there are two ways in which we understand Shastra Praman. One is, it's a Praman because it's written in the Shastra. Do this, don't do this, don't do that. But the hard meaning of Shastra Praman is, when you hear it with ekagrata chitta, then the subject that you're hearing has a spurti, and that's the deepest meaning of Praman. Praman, Shabda Praman, the deepest meaning is, it's not that, how do you know that Krishna's God? Because it says so in the Vedas. Okay, so that's the kind of dogmatic. But how do you know that Krishna's God? Because when you hear the Katar of the Vedas, you see Krishna. That's the actual Praman, on the deepest level, you see. So I add that verse there. He can send to you the file with all those verses. So, okay, chanting properly, Dasamul Shiksha, proof from Gita, and then after that, learn the main verses in order, Rup Shiksha, and then Sanatan Shiksha, and then Ramananda Samvad. You see? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was writing Chaitanya Charitamrita after Jiva Goswami had completed the Sandarbhas. So what he's done, the way he structured the conversations, is he took so many difficult ideas from the Sandarbhas, the essence, and put them in the conversations. So they're so essential, and they're so deep, and so perfect. No one can teach about the message of Mahaprabhu, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, better than Mahaprabhu, except for Ramananda Rai. Mahaprabhu was also learning from Ramananda, but Mahaprabhu was empowering him to speak. Mahaprabhu is like the ocean and Ramananda Rai is the cloud. So the cloud is made from the ocean. But when the cloud rains onto the ocean, then jewels appear in the ocean that were never there before. So though Mahaprabhu was empowering Ramananda Rai to speak, but still Mahaprabhu had realizations that he never had before. So that's very important. So Really, this is what Gurudev wants of us, to learn these essential things. And it's not a tall order. It's not really a big task. It's not a lot. If you fix your mind, let's say in the next 12 months, 12 to 18 months, you learn the Dasimal Shiksha and just the verses of the Gita that prove it. That's so solid. Now you can set out to preach. I was hearing that Nanda Gopal Prabhu is doing nice preaching in Fresno. In Fresno as well. And there's Indian community there as well. So if you just get that down, with confidence you can go and get yourself out of it. This is really important. When we preach, get yourself out of the picture. A lot of people sit down and just start to talk about whatever. When I joined the movement, they're like, and it's all about themselves. Once we were with Gurudev in Salt Spring Island. Remember that festival in Salt Spring Island? Yeah. So, one devotee stood up and Gurudev said, he stood up, but he didn't say Mangala Charanam, Om Agana Timaranda, before speaking. And Gurudev said, stop. Say Mangala Charanam. Why? And devotee was saying, before you speak, he said, I'm not accustomed to speaking and I'm afraid of speaking, but he didn't give Mangala Charanam. He said, this is why we give Mangala Charanam. Because before we speak, we fold our hands and we begin to pray. Whatever. Namasrastam manamapi. What are we doing? At that point, that's when we're praying to move ourselves out of the picture and that our Guru will speak through us. Why should we be afraid to speak? If you're afraid to speak, that means you have the ego that you're speaking. That's why you're afraid. Fear is what? Fear is just ego. It's just ego. My ego is afraid of what people will think about me. Right? So that's got to, we have to move. We have to evolve beyond that. That's not our tradition. Our tradition is we fold our hands and we pray, and then we try to be a conduit for the words and the mood and the mercy of our Gurudev. That's all. But we can't do that if we don't learn the basic structures of the way that our Gurudev spoke. So he would speak what? Dasimal Shiksha. He would speak Rup Shiksha, Sanatan Shiksha, Ramananda Samvad. These were the very basics of everything. So Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Kuriya Akya. We have to take them and put them in our heart. When we've got them in the heart, then anyway we can go there, stand up, pray, get out of the way, let Gurudev's magic take place. Right? Preaching is miraculous. Everywhere I go, I see so many miracles. But I'm not doing the miracles, I'm just watching it happening, thinking, Gurudev, amazing, more miracles, Gurudev. Huh? Wonders never cease. Huh? So preaching should be like this. But you have to put in the work, take the words of Guru and put them in your heart. But very often, Gurudev said so many things in so many places. It's sometimes bewildering. We don't know where to start. So start in this way. First, chant nicely, and then Dasmal Shiksha, the verses of Gita that prove the Dasmal Shiksha, and then go. I would recommend start with Sanatan Shiksha. Even though it comes after Rup Shiksha, start with Sanatan Shiksha. It's in many ways much more basic. And then Rup Shiksha, it also starts basic, but it very quickly becomes very rasic. So, and then after that, Ramananda Samvad. So if you go to our Chaitanya Academy YouTube channel, you can look up the playlists, and there's like a 47-part course in Sanatan Shiksha. 47-part course, maybe 48, I can't remember, but it's a lot. All the 4 chapters from the very beginning. What's the beginning? Kayami, Kenimai, Jaritapatrai. Who am I and why am I suffering? What's the goal of life and how can I attain it? These are the 4 questions of Sanatana Goswami. And then Mahaprabhu begins to answer one by one. So you learn the important verses. And it goes up to the chapter 24. And what is that? Mahaprabhu is explaining 61 meanings of the Atmarama Sloka. At the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur used to make exams. If you're in the mat, then you have to study, because the word mat means the place where students live to study. That's the meaning of the word mat. That's why I've used the word Chaitanya Academy. Academy is just the English translation of mat. Because if you go in the West, you say mat, people think of what, like something you wipe your feet off before you go in the house? Or maybe the way it's math, like what you're learning about, like algebra, right? So I just use the academy because they can understand. So, if you look at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he used to give tests. Have you ever seen an exam paper from the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur? Huh? You have to see the exam papers. I've got copies of the exam papers. You know, it's like it says at the top of the exam. Okay, this exam, it's a 3-hour exam. So question 1, write down the basic conclusions of each of the 4 Sampradaya Acharyas. Compare and contrast them and explain why Mahapuru's Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva is superior. Question 1. And it says 20 minutes. There's a bracket and how much time that should take you. Question 2. Mahaprabhu has explained 61 meanings of the Atmarama verse. Explain them in order. Time, 20 minutes. Question 3. I tell you, at the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, what the standard was, and this is why he churned out these, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shriram, Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. The pressure, the Sadhananda Swami, he would call Prabhupada's mercy aggressive grace. Aggressive grace, like this. So, just like in first aid, one part of the verse is describing Jivana Sando, that when you chant, you should think that you're in the junction between life and death, right? Otherwise you become complacent. So in Chaitanya Academy, we try to make the atmosphere like it's the evening before your final exams, right? Just like you should chant like you're on the verge of death. Every day you should read as if it's the evening before your final exam, right? And you're like $100,000 in student loans, and your parents will kill you if you don't pass, right? So don't waste your life. Every day, put the work in. It's important to clean the floor and decorate the temple and do the cooking. We have to do all of these things. But Vaishnavas have a saying, Hatikam Mukinam. Work with your hands and chant with your mouth. But work with your mind as well. Gurudev never stopped for a second. I remember the first time I was massaging Srila Gurudev. He was just lying there in his gamsha and I was oil massaging his legs like that. And his lips were just moving very softly. And I was trying to understand what is he saying. And I got a bit close. Started massaging further up the legs. And I could hear. Ratarantakasya patane bipati harini prakshyati papino papasin tarini niramadari brapashesha chittabandini. What? Yamunastikam. He's about to take bath. So he's already meditating. He's not thinking, I'm taking a shower in Nirgun's house. He's thinking, I'm bathing in the Jamuna. So before taking his bath, he's absorbed in Yamunastikam. See? So Gurudev never skipped a beat. He never wasted a second. What does it mean to follow Guru? We have to become like that. I remember once I took devotees on a parikrama in Jaipur. And while we were going from Govindaji and Radha down to the different temples, I met one brahmachari. And it was a personal servant of Pujapad Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami. And he said, oh, Prem, I'll tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone. Srila Vaman Maharaj is here in Jaipur. He's secretly staying at the house of one grihastha nearby. So if you don't tell anyone, then you can come and you can meet with him because he's hiding. Okay. So, of course. Okay. So then I went there and I just took I got permission for a few devotees. We went there and stayed with Srila Vaman Maharaj for some time. He was very old at that time, but I watched how he was doing bhajan. It was like 24 hours a day. He was sitting on a bed. He was like a murti of himself. He looked so beautiful and effulgent and not moving and chanting Harinam intensely. And he only stopped his Harinam to pray. And then he would pray Chaitanya Astakam, Radhika Astakam, Vrindavan Astakam, Govardhan Astakam. Then he would remember Gayatri. Then he would chant again. Then he would pray more astakams. Then he would remember Gayatri. Then he would chant again. It was just like not 1 second. Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Natibi Kalavasani Krito means the 6 Goswamis, they filled every moment with it, singing, chanting, remembering, paying obeisances, praying, like this. So this is how our acharyas live. So what does it mean to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas? What does it mean? Tishtan brajay tadanuragi jananugami. So, let's say you're cooking, or you're cleaning, or whatever you're doing. That day, you take one verse. Let's say you've made it your ambition. In this year, I'll learn the first chapter of Sanatan Shiksha. Right? Not too ambitious. Not every verse, but only the ones that Mahaprabhu was teaching to Sanatan Goswami, because they're the explanations in between. You don't have to memorize all the explanation, the actual words of the explanation. You can just know it in your own language. But the verse that's like, it's all pinned onto, that verse is like the zip file that contains everything from there until the next praman is given. Like that. So let's say you have to wash the pots or whatever it is. You have a garden here, are you growing something? Let's say you have to go weeding in the garden. But you write that verse down, or you have it on your cell phone or something, like that, and you wash the pot and you recite the verse. And then you just, while you're cleaning the pot, try to say the first line. And just try to say the first line. Jnane prayasa mudapasana manta eva. Jnane prayasa mudapasana manta eva. Jnane prayasa mudapasana manta eva. While you're cleaning the pot or pulling up the weeds. And when you can say it without thinking, then the next line. Jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya vartam. Like this. Even if you're so slow and it takes you, 7 days of repeating it again and again to learn that verse. So what? There are 52 days in a year. By the end of the year, you know Rup Shiksha. Right? It's with you for life now. Right? Even if you don't learn Sanatan Shiksha and this Ramananda Samvad, you can be dining out on that Rup Shiksha for the rest of your life. I mean, there's enough there that everywhere you go, you can just speak on that forever. But if let's say by 2026, you know Rup Shiksha. And by 2027 or 28, you know Sanatan Shiksha. And by 2030, you know Ramananda Samvad. Like, make it. Be ambitious. Be ambitious. Why? Ambitious to please Gurudev. We have to get all of our desires and our attachments and our agenda and our dreams, just get rid of them. Become a flute. Flute can only make beautiful music because it's empty. So that has to go. And the Katha, Gurudev's Katha, his Vichardhara, we have to install that in our heart. So just because you learn it doesn't mean that you realize it. But learning is the first step towards realizing, because you're attuning yourself with these kathas, which are Gurudev's heart. So think like this. Be focused. Don't be distracted. Make a plan and stick to it. Just like Gurudev, from the very beginning. When he first left India, Gurudev had a vision of what he was going to do. The things he was going to say. How he was going to develop the parikrama and build the temples. He saw the whole thing right from the beginning. And he was just on the grind every day, again and again, to please his Gurudev, to please Prabhupada, to please Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. Like that. So we have to be the same. What does it take? What does Gurudev want for us? And everyone may have like a different capacity. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that every person gives 100%. Like your 100% may be more than his 100%. Like in substance. But as long as you give 100% and he gives 100%, it's the same. So don't worry about like this person's good at this or that. Forget that. Just you give your 100% and that's perfect. And Gurudev will give full blessing and all realization will come by the mercy of Gurudev. Does someone have any question? Any more questions? No? Is it clear? Is it clear what we need to? If it wasn't clear, if it was vague, I hope that now you clearly see what you have to do with your life to have a successful life. What is success? Smile on Gurudev's face. That's all. That's a success. You see Gurudev just beaming, and the Prem atoms are coming from him because you served him in the way he wanted you to serve him. There's nothing more than that. Everything will be included. I know once there was some big festival. It was like a yoga, new age stroke bhakti festival, you know the type. And Pujapad Srila Bodhayan Maharaj, he was there. So he had one of his disciples. And she was kind of famous in the new age music scene. And she made one CD. She just made a new CD. And he got nominated for a Grammy Award. Right? So she came to her Gurudev and she said, "Oh, Gurudev, I just made a new CD and I've been nominated for a Grammy Award." Right? And then you think he'd say, "Oh, amazing. That's really good. Great preaching." But he was completely unmoved. He was totally unimpressed. Why? Why? Why was he unimpressed? This is really important. Digest this. That he was completely, he said, try to be nominated by someone in Goloka Vrindavan.
Oh.
Right? It doesn't matter if anyone in this world thinks that we're great and we did something great. Even if the whole world is nominating us and saying you're great and putting you on a pedestal and you're world famous, it doesn't matter. Just one person in Goloka Vrindavan has to be pleased with us. That's all. Yasya prasadat bhagavat. If one person in Goloka Vrindavan is satisfied with us, then our life is a success and we'll go to Goloka Vrindavan. Srila Gurudev ki. Yes, Sri Vrinda. Yeah.
In the beginning of the introduction of Chaitanya Charitamrita term, in the beginning of Adilila, the progression of the deities in Vrindavan from Radha Madan Mohan and then Radha Govinda and Radha Gopinath. It's progression, and each of them have so many meanings behind them. But the Radha Gopinath is the abhideya.
No, Gopinath is the Prayojan.
Oh, yeah. So, see, I don't want to talk too much because I get nervous when my ego gets fearful. But anyways, thank you. That's the objective.
Mom before asking pronounce Gurudev before asking the question. Okay.
Now she's more nervous.
No, I'm not actually.
See, it works.
No, you know what? My false ego there's plenty of room for it to get kicked. No problem. So that's the objective. So the materialistic mind thinks, oh, 1, 2, 3, and low, medium, high.
Yeah.
So I know that that's not the way to look at it, and I know on a certain level that they're interrelated. So can you give an explanation to see how it's more holistic?
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
You see, seeing that they are the deities of sambhanda, abhideya, and prayojan, this is one perspective. It's one perspective on Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan. It's so profound because, let's say, we're aspiring to be Gaudiya. We should not say, I'm a Gaudiya. We should say, I aspire to be the servant of the Gaudiyas. Because to be a Gaudiya is something very high. The definition in this book, Gaudiya Darshan, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur speaks about what a real Gaudiya is. And it's something extraordinary. So he said, I am not a Gaudiya, I just aspire to be the servant of a Gaudiya. And so in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, 18 Thakur Gaudiyaki Karyachin Atmasat, 18 Chara Bandhan Tini Moranat. He said, the Gaudiyas have been made Atmasat by Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan. So this is the definition of a Gaudiya. A Gaudiya is that soul who, as Govinda Gopinath and Madan Mohan, have made them Atmasat. That means they've incorporated them into their divine realm. That's a Gaudiya. So have you been incorporated into the divine realm of Madan Mohan, Govinda and Gopinath? That's the question. So before we say, I am a Gaudiya, we have to ask that question to ourselves. So So these three deities are very, very important, and that's at the heart of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And so we have Sambhanda, Madan Mohan, the predominating deity of Sambhanda, Govinda, the predominating deity of abhideya, and Gopinath, the predominating deity of Prayojan. And that is one perspective. But once you attain the Prayojan, then you relate to each of the deities as Prayojan. Once you attain the Prayojan, you relate to each of them. But as we approach them, we see them in this way. Why? Jayatam surato pangor mamamanda matergati matsarva swapadambojo radha madana mohano. Oh Madan Mohan, I am lame. Pangor means lame. A lame person means a person who can't move. Until you're established in Sambandha Gyan, you can't move on the path of abhideya. So you are Madan Mohan. In this world, our problem is that we are enticed. We are seduced by Maya. And the power of Maya is Madan, Cupid, not Madan Mohan, but Cupid, the material Cupid, who's shooting the arrows into the heart and making us become lusty, making us become attached, making us have worldly desires. So we have to go beyond the stage of being victimized by Cupid. So the first help that I need is Madan Mohan. He's the builder of Cupid. If I can invite Madan Mohan into my heart, then that Cupid will faint, because he becomes mohit by Madan Mohan. You see? And that's why Madan Mohan is the predominating deity of Sambandha Gyan. Because first, in order to establish our relation with Krishna, our sense of relation with the material world has to be destroyed. Our lust, our anger, our infatuation with material things. So the lotus feet of Madan Mohan, they're my everything, his feet. Because first we have to surrender in the mood of a das. And so it's the feet of Madan Mohan we surrender to in the mood of the das. And then he bewilders Cupid, who faints and stops shooting us with arrows. And now our ambitions are not connected to the material world, but they're turned towards Krishna. And we become established in Sambandha Gyan. Now, sometimes devotees have a wrong idea of what it means to be situated in Sambandha Gyan. Because Sambandha Gyan means to know Maya Tattva, Jiva Tattva and Brahma Tattva and their Sambandha relation with each other. Right? But to be situated in Sambandha Gyan is not to have a laundry list of metaphysical concepts. It doesn't mean that you have memorized your laundry list of metaphysical concepts, Jiva Tattva, Maya Tattva, Brahma Tattva and their relation. Sambandha Gyan means, just like Vyasadeva, he went into trance and he saw Krishna and he saw Maya and he saw the jivas were in Maya and they could go this way or that way. That when by the mercy of Madan Mohan we become anyabilasta shunyam, free of desires, and nishta, firm faith, comes in the heart, then when we remember a mantra and we chant Hare Krishna, then the form of Krishna, there's a spurti of the form of Krishna, and then you understand, this is Krishna, this is Maya, and I'm the Tatastha Jiva, and I can go this way or that way. It's not over yet, because now now you can really start to assert your free will. You know, when a person's completely in Maya, their free will, they're like under the control of their sanskars. But when the Sambandha Gyan comes, now the grip of the gunas has become loose enough for you to really assert your free will. And that's why Gurudeva said, all fall downs are from the stage of Nishta. Remember Gurudeva said that? Gurudeva said, all the fall downs are from the stage of Nishta. Why? Because that's only when you come to you realize, here's Krishna and here's Maya, and I'm in the middle, and I make a choice. So now you can either go to Krishna or you can fall down. Before that, you can't really fall down. You're not really falling down. You're always falling. Even you're following the four regulative principles, but you're actually still falling. You are just like biting the bullet, you know, and not falling down like that. So all fall downs are from there. So the Sambandha Gyan comes. But from there you can make the choice, now I will serve. So then the Pranam mantra comes to Govinda. Divyat Brindaranya Kalpa, and it's the description of the Vrindavan Yoga Peeth. And now you're doing Smaran. Actually, you're doing kirtan. But because now you're in Nishta, when you do kirtan, it causes a spurti, and your soul is looking at that spurti, it's smaran. You see? So Sri Radha Govinda Devo Preshtali Bi Savyamano Smarami. But it's actually Kirtan Yasa Dahari. But because you're in Nishta, from Nishta your Kirtan produces a spurti, so it's Smarami. And now you're actually on the abhideya. If your smaran is not based on a spurti, you're not in the abhideya tattva yet. Because you've not become established in sambhanda gyan. Understand? It's very deep. So look at the pranam mantras to Madan Mohan. It's all there in the pranam mantras. Look at the pranam mantra to Radha Govinda. It's all there in the pranam mantras. But this smaran is the yoga pit smaran. That is mantramaya upasana. But Sriman Rasarasarambi, if you're with Radhika in Yavat, and he's at Bangsibat, and they're all running to meet him, Mantramaya Upasana is a leela in one place. But Swarasika Upasana is changing location. So the mantra to Gopinath is describing Swarasika Upasana, that's the Prayojan, because it's describing the gopis changing location in the leela. See, so it's all there. But once you attain that Prayojan, then now Madan Mohan becomes, he can also be the Prayojan. Govinda can be the Prayojan. They can all be the Prayojan once you got there. But you'll not become a Gaudiya without getting the mercy of these three deities. You see? And so those three deities are in your Gopal mantra. Right? There are three names. The first name is Krishna. What does Krishna mean? Attractive. How attractive? Madan Mohan type attractive. You see? So the three names in your Gopal mantra are actually Madan Mohan, Govinda and Gopinath. That's why this is the mantra for Gaudiyas. Because 18 Thakur Gaudiyaki Koryachinat Masat. The Gaudiyas are those who have been enveloped by the mercy of these three deities and incorporated into their divine Leela. But then, let's say you come to the level of Prayojan, then you become like a Prabodhananda Saraswati. Goshatu mano mama madana gopale navarati keli vilasa paravadi radha suratar sale Vosatu mano mama madana gopale. Beautiful. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati is saying, oh, this Madan Gopal is always engaged in the Kunj of Vrindavan, in the madness of a Ratikeli with Radhika, who's tasting the full rasa of the Nikunja Leela. So this is Prayojan, but it's to Madan Gopal. Madan Gopal was the name of Madan Mohan before Radharani arrived. The son of Pratapuruja Maharaj, Purushottam Jana, he had a dream. There were two deities of Lakshmi in the temple in Jagannath Puri. And these two deities of Lakshmi came in a dream and said, no, we're actually Radharani. And we were just waiting for Madan Mohan and Govinda to appear. So now send us to Vrindavan. So, sorry, one of the deities that said, I'm Radharani. I am a Radharani. And you should send me to Vrindavan. We were waiting. So then he sent the two deities, one because Madan Mohan was, and the other for Govinda because he was discovered. So the two deities came all the way from Puri to Vrindavan, and they arrived at Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan said, I'm taking both of you. And he took one was Radhika and one was Lalita. And he kept them, and Govindaji was still in separation. So this is Madan Mohan. So beautiful. So once you go through the stages, then each one of don't think that Madan Mohan is like forever just the neophyte deity, and then the intermediate deity and the advanced deity. They're all, once you finish the course, they're all the advanced deity. Okay? So, I've got an appointment at 11:30, and it's nearly 11 now, so I wanted to do New Braj Parikrama. So if you want to come with me, perhaps Jai Govinda, perhaps the Nanda Gopal Prabhu, you can take me on Parikrama of New Braj. Because I haven't seen how it's developed. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, New Braj Parikrama ki!